My sister yanked my chair out from under me in front of 200 wedding guests and let me hit the floor. But 60 seconds later, her own groom made a decision that stopped the entire wedding cold. If you've ever had someone in your own family try to make you small so they could feel big, stay with me, because what happened next is something I still think about every single day. My name is Rachel, and this is the story of the day I lost a sister on stage and gained a brother. I have one older sister, Chloe, 2 years apart, same house, same parents, but from the time we were kids, it never felt equal between us. Chloe was the one people noticed first, the one my mother's friends complimented at every family gathering. And somewhere along the way, without anyone ever saying it out loud, our family fell into an unspoken rule. Chloe shines, Rachel supports. I told myself I was fine with it. I built my own life, a career I was proud of, real friendships, a quiet kind of happiness that didn't need an audience. But looking back now, I can see it clearly. Chloe was never just confident. She needed to be the only light in every room. And when she felt like she wasn't, she found small, quiet ways to remind me exactly where she thought I belonged. I just didn't want to see it yet. 2 years before the wedding, I got promoted at work, my first real leadership title. I called my mom, excited, and Chloe happened to be there. When I mentioned it at Sunday dinner, Chloe cut in before anyone could congratulate me. That's cute. Corporate titles don't mean much, though it's not like you're actually running anything. The table went quiet. I laughed it off and changed the subject. I told myself she didn't mean it like that. At our cousin's engagement party, a guy I'd been seeing for a few months came to meet my family for the first time. Chloe spent the entire evening subtly steering conversations toward herself, bringing up old stories about how many guys used to chase her right in front of him, laughing a little too loud, touching his arm when she made a joke. He pulled away from me 2 weeks later. I never told anyone what I suspected. I didn't want to believe my own sister would do that. A month before the wedding, my parents casually mentioned they were thinking about helping me with a down payment on my first apartment, something they'd already done for Chloe years earlier. That same week, Chloe suddenly needed emergency wedding funds for a last-minute upgrade to the venue. My plans quietly disappeared. Nobody connected it out loud, but I noticed. I didn't have proof of any of it, just a feeling, growing heavier every year, that my own sister didn't want me standing anywhere near her spotlight, not even a few feet away. I had no idea how far she was actually willing to go to protect that spotlight. A week before the wedding, I walked to Chloe's room to drop off some of her things. The door was cracked open. I heard her on the phone. Seriously, don't seat Rachel anywhere near the front. She always ends up pulling attention without even trying. I don't want anyone stealing focus at my own wedding. I stood frozen in the hallway. 26 years of being told to be quiet, to step back, to let her have the room, and somehow, I was still her biggest threat. I didn't confront her. I told myself, it's her wedding. Don't make this about you. I'll get through the day, and then it'll be over. I had no idea that walking away quietly that night was about to cost me my dignity in front of 200 people. The venue was stunning, string lights strung between the trees, over 200 guests, a live band, the kind of wedding people talk about for years. Chloe looked breathtaking, and Ethan, her groom, couldn't stop smiling at her like she'd hung the moon. I wore something simple, exactly as she'd asked. I spent the reception smiling for photos, refilling drinks, making sure every guest felt taken care of, because that's what I do. I make things easier for everyone else. At the family table, right in front of the stage where every single guest could see, I sat beside my mother, catching up quietly. That's when Chloe walked over, and I actually remember thinking, right before it happened, that something about her smile looked wrong. It was the same smile she used to wear right before pulling something cruel when we were kids. I had no idea that smile was the last thing I'd see before my whole world tilted sideways. Rachel, she said, sweet as sugar, budge up. I need this seat for a photo. I started to stand. She yanked the chair back before I was even halfway up. I hit the floor hard, my elbow first, then my hip, my wine glass shattering beside me, my scarf tearing as it caught under the chair leg. For one full second, I just lay there on the floor of a five-star venue, in front of everyone I'd ever known, and everyone Chloe had ever wanted to impress. Then silence. Real silence. The kind where you can hear the band's last note dying out, where you can hear your own heartbeat in your ears. I looked up. My mother's hand was over her mouth. My father's face had gone completely still, the way it does right before he gets angry but hasn't decided yet what to do about it. An elderly aunt near the front actually gasped out loud. A little cousin near the dance floor started to cry, confused by the sudden silence, and someone quickly picked her up and carried her away. And Chloe laughed. A light, careless laugh, like she just told a joke that landed slightly wrong. Oops, sorry. Didn't realize you were that clumsy. A few people laughed nervously, the way people do when they don't know if it's safe not to. Most didn't laugh at all. I remember the heat crawling up my neck into my face, my hands shaking against the cold marble floor, broken glass inches from my fingers, and this thought looping over and over in my head. She did this on purpose, and she wants everyone to think I'm the one who's embarrassing. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. I had no idea that the next 60 seconds were about to change the rest of my life. Ethan rose from his seat so fast his own chair scraped loudly against the floor. He crossed the space between the head table and where I was still sitting, on the ground faster than anyone else even reacted. He didn't look at Chloe first. He looked at me, knelt down, offered both hands, and helped me up like I was something fragile that mattered. Then he took off his suit jacket, without a word, and settled it over my shoulders where my scarf had torn away. Only then did he turn around. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The room was already silent enough that every word carried to the back tables. Chloe? What was that? Chloe let out a short, uncomfortable laugh. Oh my God. It was a joke, Ethan. Rachel's fine, right, Rachel? But Ethan wasn't looking at her anymore. He walked to the microphone stand near the stage, the same stand the DJ had used minutes earlier to announce the couple's first dance, and picked it up. The entire room, all 200 guests, turned to face him. I'm sorry to interrupt the reception, he said, but I can't sit here and pretend that didn't happen. Rachel isn't just a guest tonight. As of about 3 hours ago, she's my sister too. And what just happened wasn't a joke. That was someone deliberately humiliating another person on the floor, in front of her entire family, at her own sister's wedding. He looked at Chloe. His voice stayed calm, but every word landed like a stone dropped into still water. I'm marrying you today because I love you. But loving you doesn't mean I'm going to stay quiet while you hurt someone, especially someone who has done nothing but support you your entire life. I want you to apologize to Rachel, right now, in front of everyone who just watched what you did. Nobody moved. I don't think anyone in that room breathed. I had no idea, in that moment, that this was only the beginning of everything Chloe was about to lose. Later, I learned this wasn't really about one chair. Over their engagement, Ethan had quietly started noticing things: how Chloe spoke to servers when she thought no one important was watching, how she talked over his mother at a dinner and then acted wounded when it was pointed out, the way she'd once made his younger sister cry at a bridal shower over a dress not matching the aesthetic, then called her too sensitive when she got upset. Each time, Ethan had gently raised it with her privately. Each time Chloe cried, said he was twisting her words, said nobody understood how much pressure she was under. Each time, he let it go, telling himself marriage, real partnership, would settle her down. Watching her shove her own sister to the floor in public for a photo op. That was the moment every one of those earlier conversations clicked into place for him. This wasn't stress. This was who she was when she thought she could get away with it. He'd married her 3 hours earlier, and he was already done pretending not to see it. Chloe walked to the microphone. Her hands were shaking, but not, I think, out of guilt, out of fury at being opinion she'd spent her whole life curating. I'm sorry, Rachel. I didn't think it would turn into this big of a thing. It wasn't an apology. It was damage control dressed up as one who didn't hear the difference. I walked up beside her. Ethan looked surprised, but he didn't stop me. I took the microphone gently from her hand. It's okay, Chloe, I said. Weddings are stressful. Then I turned to face the room, 200 faces, some still in shock, some with tears in their eyes, my mother clutching my father's arm. But I want to say one thing tonight. Putting someone else down has never once made anyone taller. I didn't come here to compete with my sister. I came here to celebrate her happiness. And tonight I learned something. I'll never forget, sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to fight back. It's to stand back up, quietly, in front of everyone who just watched you fall. The applause that followed wasn't polite applause. People stood. My father was openly crying, something I had never once seen in 26 years. And in that moment, for the first time all night, I felt something other than shame. I had no idea that this standing ovation was the smallest part of what Chloe was about to lose. Here's the part most people ask me about: what actually happened to Chloe after that night. Word travels fast at a 200-person wedding. By the time the reception ended, half the guest list had already told the story to someone who wasn't there. Within a week, it wasn't just family gossip. It was the story everyone in Chloe's friend group knew, whispered about, quietly judged her for. Two of her closest bridesmaids, women she'd known since college, stopped responding to her group chat within a month. One of them later told me, privately, that watching Chloe laugh while I was still on the floor was the moment she realized she didn't actually know her best friend at all. Chloe's own mother-in-law, who had been warm and welcoming throughout the engagement, became noticeably distant. Family holidays got quieter, invitations got smaller. Ethan never publicly punished her for it. He didn't need to. He simply stopped covering for her the way he used to, stopped laughing along at jokes made at other people's expense, started speaking up every single time, in every room, no matter how small the moment was. Slowly, more of the past surfaced too, including the truth about that relationship that had quietly ended 2 weeks after Chloe accidentally charmed my boyfriend at our cousin's party, and the vanished apartment fund that had somehow become an emergency venue upgrade. Ethan heard about all of it, eventually, piece by piece, from people who no longer felt like protecting Chloe's image. I never said a word against her. I never had to. Ethan built a home with a woman who had spent her whole life curating an audience. And slowly, one relationship at a time, that audience started walking away. Because he'd shown all of us that silence wasn't required anymore. I had no idea, watching her walk off that stage in tears, that I was watching the first domino of everything fall. A year later, Chloe showed up at my apartment unannounced. No makeup, no performance, none of the polish I'd grown up watching her wear like armor. "Rachel," she said, "I've spent my whole life scared that if you got even a little bit of the spotlight, there wouldn't be any left for me. So I kept trying to keep you small, and all it did was make me small. I lost my bridesmaids. I lost people in Ethan's family who I actually liked. And for a while, I almost lost my own husband, a man who married me the same day he realized exactly who I was." I hugged her, not because everything was suddenly fixed. Real relationships don't work like a movie ending, but because for the first time in either of our lives, she wasn't performing for anyone, not even for me. We're not perfect now, but we're honest. And honest is more than we ever had before. That day, my sister took my chair out from under me in front of 200 people, but she never actually took my dignity. That was given back to me by a man who, an hour into being married, chose to stand up for the truth instead of staying comfortably quiet. A man who became my brother before he'd even finished his first dance as a husband. If someone in your own family has ever tried to make themselves bigger by making you smaller, I want you to hear this. Their need to shrink you says everything about their own fear, and nothing about your worth. If this story hit home for you, tell me in the comments, has anyone in your life ever stood up for you the way Ethan stood up for Rachel? And if you want more real emotional stories like this one, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because this is just the beginning.